Hello and welcome to Literary Gladiators, the show where we discuss and debate literature in all of its forms. If it's written work, it's game. Let's meet the panel.
Jim,
Dan,
Charlie,
and Josh.
Hi.
What are we going over today?
Today we'll be discussing The Lottery Ticket by Ventura Garcia Calderon.
One of the most underrated works of literature ever.
and the hardest to find too.
That's how underrated
so the
it
winning
is.
numbers.
Very hard to find. 75 short masterpieces introduced me. Where do we begin?
What does holding a lottery ticket for Silecio tell us about this society?
That it is
I read that name wrong.
very centered around material objectivity, including the way that they see the female at that point in time.
It shows like that. Well, like obviously they're offering her off as like a prostitute. She's just a dancer though, but
Yeah.
it kind of shows that. Like, I believe the story was in the Midwest. I could be wrong about that, but it shows like the slavery and ownership of people is still probably legal somewhere around that time. I mean, if you're willing to auction off a person, it's most likely that slavery and stuff is still around at the point that the story was written.
It was Latin American in a way, so I would think it's somewhere in Central America.
Yeah.
And Calderon was from Peru.
Alright, but if you have... Well, the whole idea of a lottery ticket is it plays into value, doesn't it? Because what is a ticket but it's a piece of paper saying there's opportunity.
Back
Everyone
in-
has a chance.
Back in the day, it had to be backed up by something. Nowadays, it's a whole other ball.
Now you win money instead of a prostitute.
It's a bit more appropriate that way because money is its own object.
I mean, you can buy anything with money. Cookies, tools. You work at Home Depot. You can buy anything at Home Depot. I want to buy a boat.
Although, I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know
there.
if the auctioning of sex is literal. I think it shows that after the industrialization and the move toward capitalism and consumer culture, sex became commodified. Sex became something people could consume because it was about making new future workers for the order of capital.
Oh, anybody that's participating in this, there's some kind of sexual desire that's backing them up.
The lustful men.
that's-
The whole lustful.
Yes. That's pretty much, except for the one guy who
Yeah.
wins, which that leads us to our next question.
What kind of statement was the Negro making when he tore up the winning ticket?
Take that. That's the kind of statement he was making when he ripped it up. This is a man that was throughout history. He was treated as a slave. He was treated as just about a workhorse, and
He was abused as well.
just about he
You
was.
name it, you name it, it happened to him probably.
And the fact that he won, it was just hysterical that it happened in the first place, and that he was going to
Like,
turn
what are
this.
the odds?
He was going to turn this prize down. He values something much more than the people that are attending.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not one of you. I don't participate in this. I did, but only as a gesture of rebellion. I was momentarily one. I was like a man inside.
Like going off of what Josh said, like the black man was trying to make a statement by tearing up the ticket. You know, it's like, I won, but I want this prize of a white man, or like basically as it says that he didn't want to. They showing his black pride was showing disdain for a beautiful white woman that he obviously doesn't want because, you know, his people were auctioned off too. Like slavery was a huge thing, which they did for this thing. So he's had complete disdain for the whole thing and just wanted to shove it in their faces, which in turn caused him to, you know, get hospitalized. But he made a statement by doing it.
This woman was a bit more voluntary because when she saw him rip it up, she was insulted. But at the same time,
Was she?
later on,
It
she
mentions
would
that,
go.
yeah.
She would go on to thank him if, for some reason, she would ever stray away from that lifestyle. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen
Yeah.
so much. But
Very rarely it happens.
What's our next question?
I don't know that sex work is necessarily unfortunate, but that's its own subject.
Mm-hmm. Alright. Explain the first 3 sentences.
The first 3 sentences introduce that this story is immoral, and that
What are the first 3 lines? Can you
the first
read
3
them?
one. Oh, I have it right here.
There it is.
You have heard this story before? No matter. I will tell it again because it points to a moral, and better than that, to a state of mind. Also, it is not without present-day interest.
This is an appeal to experience. It's very Borges-esque. You know, Borges will suddenly interject an appeal to his reader and be like, I'm going to draw on something. I think you've heard this. I'm not even sure if it happened myself. There's always uncertainty underlying a Borges narrative, whereas this, you have sort of an absolute, it might have happened before, but it's of present interest.
I think it's vice versa. I think that things like this, and in different ways, happen all the time.
And I was gonna say that too. Like things like that are still going on today, but it's not as big and as elaborate as it was then.
Luckily, people are seeing it for what it really is, which that is a way of progression. Back then, it was a whole other. It was
socially acceptable back then.
Yeah, it was. That was when there was a superiority and inferiority amongst people, as opposed to an equality amongst.
You can argue that
rights.
people are still not egalitarian, but
And there's also mentioned that he won't name the theater because it doesn't happen in just one theater, and that if he named the theater,
yeah, that would make
Maybe
them
pointing
think.
fingers.
yes, it would be.
Yeah, and it would be putting it in the box of that one scenario when there are many like it, and he wishes to condemn all of them.
Yeah.
Indeed.
He doesn't want to make it an isolated incident.
Right.
He wants to make a statement, a public statement, not just, he wants a world, I guess, for the world to know. Not just this one little itty-bitty town. He wants everybody to know.
Mm. Anybody have any final statements?
I'm hungry.
That's,
I gotta say it was a pretty good read for a short story, you know, and I like the fact of it. And I guess it was very hard to find, you know, because there's several other books named The Lottery Ticket, including The Lottery, which is a famous one as well.
Shirley Jackson.
Yeah, this was a pretty good one, and it shows how society used to be and how it can relate to our world today. You know, that, like, the thing is, prostitution, slavery, and all this stuff still goes on in the world. It's just that it's not as big as it used to be.
Mm-hmm. And
It's getting better.
hopefully it shrinks even more, and that people find alternate solutions.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a footnote here that this piece we are presuming takes place in Latin America, and yet the object of sale is a white woman, is sort of a comment on reverse colonialism.
I see what you
It
did
turns
there.
colonial narrative on its head, because what were the whites to them? When the conquistadors invaded Latin America and Mexico, they had never seen white people like that.
Mm.
So as much as having the object of sale or the subject of the sale be a white woman is something of a comment on white colonialism of Latin America without really addressing it. He puts the white in the position of otherness for a moment, which is a very subversive and subtle gesture.
Mm.
I see there.
Indeed, that is quite
They
a
also let the
lens.
black guy, don't they?
Granted, that is a
Yeah.
lens coming from somebody from Peru. He was born in France, but then he moved to Peru later on. If you are interested, which I hope you are, in reading Calderon's The Lottery Ticket, that and 74 other short masterpieces can be found in this little humble silver book.
Just hold it. Yeah, more that word, my friend.
It's called 75 Short Masterpieces. It's edited by Roger Goodman edited the piece, and you can find works from more familiar authors such as Anton Chekhov, Didi Maupassant, O. Henry is in here, John Steinbeck, Ray Bradbury.
The price is on the back.
And you can get this for $7.99 if you can find it for cheaper. Those chances are quite common, but I would highly encourage you to check this out, and hopefully after watching this, Calderon's The Lottery Ticket will be found in more anthologies aside from this one. I hope you join us back next time for another episode of Literary Gladiators. Until then, keep reading.